fighting ended on the Western Front of the First World War on November 11, 1918.
Celebrations of the end of the war soon turned solemn in remembrance of those who served.
In November of 1919, President Woodrow Wilson acknowledged today, Veterans Day, as a day of remembrance for all those who fought.
There's a very important distinction to be made between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Veterans Day, what we're celebrating today, has to do with the veterans who served and are currently living. Memorial Day is about veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Since we don't hold a celebration of Memorial Day in the same way that we do Veterans Day at school, we've chosen to also honor veterans who have passed in our Veterans Day celebration.
All right, can you please introduce yourself and your father?
Hi, my name is Gina Danseco Chow. This is my dad, Bonifacio Avendano Danseco. He served in the United States Navy for about 25 years. He was a Chief Petty Officer.
Could you tell us about how your dad made his way into the military?
The funny thing about my dad was he was a golf caddy on the military base in the Philippines, and he was helping military personnel being their golf caddy. And one of the officers asked him, "Hey, do you want to join the United States military?" And at first he was apprehensive. He was still dating my mother, but at her encouragement, he joined. And he had to pass a series of tests, which was not easy. They only chose about 400 recruits every year, and he was sent to San Diego, where he passed basic training.
In what ways did you see your father change because of the military?
He didn't really change. I think later on, he did say he regretted not being present for us growing up. He felt that a lot of pressure was on my mom, but at the same time, he tried. He sent letters, called us. So when he retired, he was full on, "Hey, I'm ready to be present for you guys." So he was very selective with his jobs. But at the same time, I think because I was a child of immigrant parents, I was always appreciated that he sacrificed leaving the Philippines to join the military. So having that appreciation throughout my life and being grateful, there wasn't really any negative that I could think of during my childhood.
What did your dad do on the ships?
He was a cook. He cooked all the meals for about 2,000 servicemen, so that was his passion. And they pulled him to other jobs on the ships whenever they needed him.
Where did your dad's service take him?
Throughout Europe. He traveled throughout Asia. I have a lot of postcards from Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Philippines. His favorite country was Australia. He's been there numerous times. But he did say his first place that he visited when he was in the military was in Athens, Greece.
Is there anything you'd like to share about your father? A story you had or he had that really sticks out to you?
The fun thing being a military brat, that's what they refer us as, was the fact that we got to play every single sport on base for free. Whether that's basketball, baseball, track and field, bowling, it was all free. So my dad just took my siblings and I during the summer, and this was like, you guys keep busy. For my brother, he needed to earn at least $3,000 to sell chocolate bars. He did it in a matter of 2 weeks. My dad's like, I'm gonna take you on the aircraft carrier, we're gonna sell all those candy. So that was all, like a paid trip for my brother. So there's those memories of going on those aircraft carriers, selling candies, and just meeting my dad's friends. And to me, it was his friends, but not realizing they're actually military personnel. And when you grow up, you're like, wow, my dad served with officers, people from different backgrounds. And I think that's why I have a deeper appreciation, thinking that my dad, some of his friends are here as well too. So that's why I grew up with a deeper appreciation, being grateful of little things, and just cherishing all those memories. So there was two different things that, as a child of a military member, I had to rely on my parents on their stories, on the photographs. And now that I'm a mother of 3 kids, and my father passed away before they were born, listen to veteran stories, because I think future generations, you don't hear stories, you don't look at photographs, everything's on the phone, it's all digital. But when you see like a hard copy photograph, it's different. Touching it, smelling it, you feel more present. And I think that's something that's very important that we're somewhat losing.
Is there any specific lessons that you learned from your father, that you learned from having a father in the military, that you think other people could take away?
Deeper appreciation for little things. Just that little letter, just waiting for my dad's letter, that was very exciting for me. Receiving that postcard, that was everything to me versus a Christmas present. Him showing up unexpectedly at the doorstep. He was dressed like a Santa Claus one time. And I'm like, wait a second, this is a short Santa Claus. And that meant a lot to me. And I'm like, forget the toys. My dad's here. So it's those little things that as a child, and now that I'm an adult, I try to be present. I try to teach my children, you have to appreciate little things. It's not material stuff. It's not, buying the most expensive phone. It's spending time with your loved one, because you don't know when they're gonna pass. My father passed away 2 months before I got married, and it was very unexpected. And now all the things that he has taught me, whether that was changing a tire, changing the oil of the car, I appreciate those things. He was like, just because you're a girl doesn't mean anything to me. You're gonna be treated equally. Like your brothers. Because he knew that when he was going to be deployed, I had to help my mom. She really didn't have anyone else. We didn't have any relatives growing up, since we kept on moving around.
Greetings, I am Zerlene Danseco, and my nephew is Brandon Chow, who is a high school junior. I am a retired military veteran, having served in the United States Army, the United States Army Reserves, and the Army National Guard. I was inspired to join the military because of my late father, who retired from the United States Navy. Second, I wanted to serve my country and travel the world. And lastly, I joined the Army to gain valuable job experience and skill sets that would open new opportunities for me. I received my military commission from the University of Washington's Army ROTC program. I am honored to have served as an Army Signal Corps officer, and I continue to use my military leadership and management experience through my continued service as a federal government employee. Go Huskies!
Could you please introduce yourself and then your rank and the branch that you came from and just kind of who you are?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ken Lewis. I'm retired from the Army. My rank was Sergeant First Class. Retired as a operations sergeant for an attack helicopter company, about 180 people and 36 helicopters. That's when we had Cobras and Scout helicopters and that sort of thing. But I did that in the last 4 years of my career. I didn't do that my whole time. So I retired a long time ago, 1986, March. So I retired when I was 39. I'd already served 20 years in the military at that point. So I was pretty young to be retired.
So you're a local around the area, right?
Well, my mother was a Muckleshoot, enrolled Muckleshoot, and I grew up in the Puyallup Valley area, Sumner and Puyallup, so mostly agriculture. So we always had the top football team in the state because of the farm boys.
So what led you to enlist in the military?
Well, I have 3 uncles in World War II, and my father was in World War II. And then all the stuff on television was oriented toward World War II or Korean War, a lot of epic stuff. And so that was kind of a role model that we went by, and it was kind of something we felt, young men felt, is a rite of passage to be in the military. And that's just something we did. You know, it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't a sense of patriotism, but we were just trying to emulate what our uncles and our fathers did.
What kind of work were you doing with helicopters in Vietnam, and what role did you kind of play?
Well, I went to school for like 5 months to repair all the helicopters in the inventory. And my training wasn't just to do regular maintenance, changing oil and all that sort of. I had to go down and take components apart and put them back together again, and do repairs like that, like you would in an automotive shop. So, and if there's battle damage, bullets and stuff, we had to replace all the parts that were damaged and then put them back together again. So that was how I was assigned to a unit, to a small, what's that called, an organizational unit. And I was in a Scout helicopter platoon where they had small helicopters, and they called them whirlybirds. They were small, had a bubble on the front, and had a totally metal airframe in the back. There wasn't much to it. But what they did is they went out and looked for the enemy flying around, and then if they found the enemy, then they would land troops to engage the enemy, and that was basically our function. But I didn't do that. I just made sure the helicopters were ready to fly every day, and I had helicopters. And all the guys that are around me, they flew in those Scout helicopters. Well, I didn't. Not that I didn't want to, it's just something I was always working on them. So when they flew, they usually got shot. So then they elevated me at some point to be in charge of all the helicopter maintenance. So all 10 of those helicopters in that section, those Scout helicopters, were under my control and supervision for repair and maintenance, that sort of thing. So the availability rate had to be at least 80%, at least 8 of them had to be ready to fly the next day. So that was my job, to keep that continually, that flow going. And then besides that, I had to train new people when they came in how to repair and what kinds of things you had to do. So that was basically what I did while I was there. But we were still in a tactical environment when you got rocketed occasionally and mortared, bombs falling on you and that sort of thing. So we had casualties from that as well. And then occasionally some guy would come down with malaria. And we moved a lot. We were very mobile. So we moved to a place, it wasn't permanent buildings. We lived in tents, and we had sandbags, and we lived in foxholes. We did all that. And then we had our helicopters out there with us. So we moved wherever the battle was, where the battle was always moving. So I wasn't just in one spot, like they called it a base camp. We were in, like, we call them LZs, or landing zones. But we had set up camps there. We still call them LZs because it's just small enough to accommodate a small runway for helicopters to land to take off. So in a nutshell, that was it.
After you came back from Vietnam, you were working with the military criminal justice system. What were you doing?
Well, I got out of the Army. I decided to get out, and I thought I was going to go to college on a GI Bill, and then I got a job at the post office. And the hours are strange, from 3 to 11 at night, and they had split days. I tried. I couldn't go to school and study and then work at night too. It just didn't work because I couldn't get my sleep cycle. I couldn't regulate. So I said, to heck, I just went back in the military. And when I went back in, the war was still going on, but it was tapering down. It was in '72 when they were doing the peace talks. And so they said, well, we got too many guys doing what you did. So what did you do when you were in a civilian? I said, well, I was a postal clerk. Well, they lasted on the title clerk. And they said, clerk. Well, we need legal clerks. So they did that. They said, okay, we're going to send you to school. And it was actually paralegal. So I was a paralegal for the next 10 years. I did that in criminal justice, and then I worked some other things, family law, and then claims, tort claims, that sort of thing. But majority was in criminal justice. And what that entailed was a report would come in from the Criminal Investigation Division, and you'd have to craft up criminal charges to take to court-martial. So the court-martials, whatever the offense happened to be, you went where the evidence was. Whether the evidence said it was this, then that's what you do. You framed your court-martial specification around that, and that's what I did. And then I'd send them on up, and that was the majority of the work. I didn't do any appellate work and stuff like that, but I got to work with a lot of good attorneys because back then they had to draft. So a lot of people went to like Stanford and different places, really good law schools, and the Army would pay for your schooling, through ROTC. And so they had an obligation after they got their degree to spend it with the military, like 4 years. So most of the lawyers I went with were top law school grads. So I was trained by basically law professors all that 10 years. So I gained all that knowledge. And they said, all you got to do is take a course in philosophy and you can take the bar exam. Well, I had no interest because I was burnt out on doing the criminal justice thing. But I got to work with some really neat people. Some of them made general. I mean, they really did well.
Do you have a message that you'd want to give to kids our age in this area that you think that they should know?
Well, I mean, everybody has a different opinion about military. Has a bad rap because they see some blurb or something, but it's really not that. If you have a sense of adventure and you want to learn a new language or you want to see neat places and not just go there for a week on a cruise. I mean, you spend a year. I've spent 5 years in Germany. I traveled all over Europe. Best time I had in my life. It's like going to Disneyland, except you don't have to wait in line. You know, if you don't like something, you walk 6 blocks and there's something else going on. So the whole experience in the military is a cultural kind of exchange between you and people you meet and what you've learned in life, and it broadens your base for everything. So when you get an education, now it's more meaningful because of an education. Education is just basic stuff you need to know in life. Until you experience something, now you got something to work with to take wherever you go. Everybody's different, but I just say that it's about, you do service to your country, and some countries make it mandatory, and it's conscription. So it's service to your country, you say, well, I did what I'm supposed to do, and now you feel like maybe what you have now, you earned it, ahead of time, for example. So you feel a little bit better about everything. You're not just taking everything for granted. And think life's a little bit more, you value life a lot more than if you hadn't had that experience. You're meeting like-minded people. So you're all basically the same level of education, experience, and values. So you're like-minded people, men or women both. So you're comfortable in that setting. So, and it's every day's a learning experience. Every day's a new, when you get up in the morning, you got something new to do. It's not routine. So what it does is it stimulates your intellect because you're always in a learning mode. So now you're provoked to learn as much as you can because you want to keep up with the next guy. So it's very competitive. It's like in sports, you have to compete all the time. Well, it's like that all the time in the military because you don't want to look like the guy who has to sit in the barracks all day because you didn't make the team. No, that's not going to work. So it's kind of like that, has that sense of competition. But it's not for everybody, but people like the sense of adventure. They want to travel, go different places and say, I'll go there and I'll do that. And it's a value thing. It depends on what you value in life and it's how you're brought up and how your mom and dad treated you and the values they instilled in you to do things. It's not necessarily patriotism as much as it is your dedication, your commitment to your friends and neighbors and your family. That's kind of what's that. I just keep it down as low as I can. It's not the American flag. No, it's all how you feel about it, and then you have a sense of value when you do that sort of thing. Just like if you do volunteer work at all, at the end of that period, you feel better about yourself because you help somebody out. It's that sense of well-being.
Do you have anyone you want to thank for how they've helped you now with these?
Oh yeah, like the lady that was just here. She's a big. She's kind of like the program manager. She did all this stuff, put all our pictures up on the walls to show appreciation for our service. And we're not a very big tribe. When these guys were here, there's only 400 of us in the tribe. That's a huge percentage of us that went in the military, and so these all date back to World War II and then Korean War and some of them between that and Vietnam, they call it the Cold War. And a lot of us were, during the Vietnam period, there's not one of us didn't sign up to go to Vietnam. All of us, because we thought that's our rite of passage, because that's our warrior kind of culture. We take care of our family, we're not gonna hide behind, well, I got a PhD, I don't have to go out today. We don't think like that. We have a PhD, we still go out, hunt deer, hunt elk, fish, we do all that stuff. It's really a sense of family that you have. So that's what this is, just to honor the guys that went out and did stuff. But yeah, they did, the tribe honored us by doing all these things and gave us a building that we could go on our off time. We wanted to play pool or table tennis, or in this case, television. City of Auburn has done a fantastic for years. And I have friends that were captured by the bad guys. And so I led the parade for the POWs, MIAs, because I have friends that never came back. They never got released or never found them again. And I used to ride a Harley. I rode a Harley for a long time. So I would get some flags, a POW flag and American flag, and I'd ride and I'd maybe 50, 60 guys that were military guys, and we'd ride in a parade. And I'm the only one, I started that. No other city does that around, that I know of around here on the West Coast. The parade's coming up Veterans Day, this 11th.